Now, the anomaly of the military government intervention. Now, the interesting thing was that the decision to postpone the WROs was not made by the relevant line minister, the Minister for Labour, Mr. Philip Mbole, but the interim finance minister, Komodo Bainimarama. Secondly, Komodo Bainimarama, when announcing the postponement of the WRO, made no reference to being shown audited accounts by the employers concerned. It's extremely unlikely that he saw any. A basic question must be asked. Was the interim Prime Minister even aware of the critical importance of employers justifying their inability to pay through audit accounts? The only safeguard that workers have when employers do not wish to pay the required wage increases. Why would he disregard this essential worker safeguard in the Wages Council mechanism? Whatever the answer to that, those safeguards were not given any heed to. Now, stakeholders concerned, to encourage just wages in Fiji, including ACRIA, should note that with an unelected government in place, the workers are in no position to exercise influence on the military government through the ballot box. Conversely, the military government ministers concerned need fear no censure through the ballot box, since they are not accountable to anyone. They have ruled for 2 years already. The military president has stated that there will be no election before 2014. So this military government will have ruled for 7 to possibly 8 years, longer than the term of any elected parliament, without any accountability to any workers or the people of Fiji at large. Now, might employers be genuinely unable to pay? Of course, there are employers out there who are struggling to survive, and some possibly may not be able to afford the new minimum wages set by the wages councils. Now, I want to take you people to what has been happening in our Fiji economy for the last 30 years or so, where even if you had employers who want to give better wages, right, the overall conditions of the economy has been such that they would not be able to do so with safety and security about the sustainability of their businesses. Now, before the December 2006 coup, the economy was growing at an average of 2.8% per year. Then the economy contracted for 2007 by minus 6.6%, just barely grew by 1.2% in 2008, and is projected to have negative growth again for 2009. And even if we grow at 1% per year from next year, which is now an optimistic assumption, we will not be catching up with the old trend path, which I've also projected to grow by a lower 1% per year from 2010 because of the global crisis. Now, I have a graph here to show you, which makes it very, very clear. And that red line is what was there from 2000 to 2006. This is the continuation. This is the global crisis shipping in for performance to a lower trend path. And this is where we are. This is where we fell. This is where we're going. This is where we are now. And this is assuming that we might have some small 1% growth for the next 3-4 years. Now, the people of Fiji will have lost, because of this 2006 coup, I believe, and I'm making allowances for the global crisis there, we will have lost $4.6 billion in income between 2006 and 2014. This is far more than the amounts that could have been gained by Father Kevin Barr through the wages councils for the poorest workers of Fiji had the increases been gazetted. Now, government normally gets about a quarter, 27% of GDP every year, and they spend that on education, health, social welfare, housing, etc. A quarter, 27% of $4.7 billion, we're talking about government not having this extra $1 billion in their hands, which they could have spent on all these social welfare things, which ACRIA is so rightly concerned about. The just wages, the housing, the poverty alleviation, all these issues which ACRIA is so rightly concerned about for our poor people would not actually be able to be addressed because of this massive loss of income. Now, I want to put another graph on the screen for you, because it just shows you the relationship between what happened to GDP per capita, which is this heavy blue line, heavy black line. This is the average salaries in the Fiji economy going from 1978 to 2002. And you can see the salaries are pretty roughly tracking what is happening to the GDP per capita. Because salaries largely comprise all those people who are in government. Right? None of the civil servants are below the poverty line, by the way. Right? The people who are below the poverty line are all the ones out in the private sector. And you all know the tremendous strength of the public sector unions. Right? You know the tremendous strength of technical people who are working in the private sector, who are in huge demand in Australia, New Zealand and Canada. They're able to migrate now. So average salaries in Fiji have pretty well been able to be maintained, and they've kept pace with GDP per capita. But what has happened to the average of the wages councils rate? Well, they have fallen successfully, and they fell faster than average the GDP per capita fell in these years. And while GDP per capita has been rising recently in this period, the average wages council just barely rose, fell, it's really over there. So clearly there has been a real failure of the wages councils to ensure that those workers covered by the wages council were able to maintain their relativities with the rest of the economy, with the GDP, with the rest of salary earners. Very, very simple analysis, not all that far off. Now, I want to go on to what is an underlying problem, which makes all of our efforts in trying to get just wages for our workers pretty well futile, simply because we have totally messed ourselves up for the last 20